Hello and welcome to my shop. I'm Dusty Wild and today I'm going to be unboxing and assembling this Eastwood VersaCut CNC plasma table. I've been looking for a CNC plasma cutter for a while now. Looked at the Crossfire unit, the ArcDroid Torchmate, a couple DIY kits. Started gathering materials to build my own. And then I seen this Eastwood unit. I actually felt like this fit my needs the best. And they had a great sale going on over Thanksgiving, so I decided to pick one up. This is the way it arrived at my house. I did not pay extra for the liftgate service. I have a forklift, so I was able to unload it directly off the trailer. Although the shipping company did dispatch with a liftgate, however, we didn't need it. So be aware, if you don't have a forklift or other means to unload, you will need liftgate service. It's 475 pounds, so it's pretty hard to move around, just by hand. This pallet is assembled with number 2 screws for this lid. We're going to remove those to start. All right, we've verified our inventory is complete, and we have everything laid out, so going to the next steps of assembly should be a little bit easier. A few things to note: the connector on the gantry was disconnected. I was able to snap the lock ring back on that. Also, the controller was shipped in this cardboard box. There's a little bit of damage here on the paint from wearing inside the box itself. Would have been nice if that was wrapped up a little bit neater, but otherwise, pretty happy with the way everything got delivered. The only other issue that I've seen so far is the book itself. The page numbering is out of sequence. It looks like it was assembled or printed incorrectly. So we have page 4 on the left and 41 on the right. And it goes that way through the entire book. So as we assemble, you just kind of pay attention to what page you're actually on, as it's not in order. All right, let's start with the assembly. So I place my legs in approximately where they need to go. The legs are all identical except for the hardware that's pre-installed in them. This particular leg has all the control hardware installed, so that's going to go up here. And then they're all going to be connected to one another with these connecting bars. There's the short bars that go up on top that have 2 sets of hardware, and then there's these bottom bars that have the 4 pieces of hardware. And one thing to note, I actually really like with the Eastwood design, attaching square tubing to anything structural is going to be difficult because it tends to collapse the square tubing. You can see Eastwood actually made these spacers in here so that as you tighten that down, it won't collapse the square tubing. It's really good design. It looks like Eastwood knows what they're doing. So let's go ahead and get these square tubing attached. All right, I got everything put together. Eastwood did a really nice job with pre-installing the fasteners. Rather than throwing everything in a bag and making you sort through the washers and fasteners and which length goes with which component, they just pre-installed everything. So you just remove the fastener, attach the component, and then reattach the fastener and tighten. It really made assembly straightforward and really, really quick. It does specify in the manual that the position of these lower leg connections need to be in the right location relative to where this box is at. When I first assembled this, I actually had this controller at the wrong corner. well, I had it at the right corner, but then I thought I had it wrong, so I rotated it. And when I rotated it 90 degrees, it actually put these bars in the wrong position. So I had to go back through and remove those bars. I was just too far along in the process to go back and change the gantry mounts and everything else. But otherwise, this goes together really well. It's really well built, actually. I'm really happy with the way it was built. All right, we got it all plugged in. Let's go ahead and turn it on. And make sure we can jog. So I have not learned how to run this yet, but I'm assuming that we're going to be able to figure out how to run this in manual mode just for a minute to make sure everything moves. Yeah, and right out of the box, it's working as expected. That's great. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is put our water table together and get the 82i torch controller and get that mounted, and the wiring ran for that. There's a little bit of wiring that we need to do for the trigger system, as well as a torch height controller for the 82i, which I'll go into detail on as well. All right, that concludes the assembly of the Eastwood VersaCut CNC plasma table. Everything went together really well. Pre-installed fasteners was really a nice touch. Everything, the fit and finish on this is really impressive. Very happy with the purchase so far. The only area of concern is the water table leaking, because it's a two-piece design and it's bolted together in the middle. It comes with a silicone gasket, and then it also has a spare gasket. Eastwood also provides a tube of sealant for the water table. I didn't apply any. We'll see if it leaks before we actually apply any of this. They also provided an extra set of bearings for the gantry, as well as a few pieces extra hardware for the water table. And the only other piece that's remaining is the wiring to connect to our plasma cutter, which will be our next steps. All right, so now we're going to start installing our Everlast 82i torch. First thing I realized is that it won't fit through this track. Quick search found that you just pry up on these connectors to get them removed, so you can actually run the wires through the track. All right, the Everlast 82i torch has been installed. I ran the wiring through the track. The only thing that's left is to wire up our Eastwood harness to our Everlast connector, so that the Eastwood can communicate and control our plasma torch, as well as run the torch height controller. All right, one area that's a little bit of a deviation from the manual is when I'm trying to wire one-to-one for arc voltage. I've changed my jumper, but then these wires, you're supposed to push on those light tan tabs to insert the wire. The wire with the connector is too large to fit in the socket, so I had to cut the wire and strip it back in order to insert it. And it's also in the Z orientation rather than facing you as it's shown in the manual. So a little bit of a difference there. All right, so I have my Everlast 82i connected to the Eastwood plasma. I converted it to one-to-one raw voltage for arc current. For whatever reason, I'm still not getting arc monitoring to be recognized by the Eastwood. I got to do a little bit more research there. So in the meantime, I had to disable the arc monitor and able to get it to move. Otherwise, it works.